Hello, my name is Cole Tarrington, and I'm here today to explain a little bit about corporations and why corporations are the best form of business organization fit for an industry such as pharmaceuticals. Now, before I get into the good stuff, I must explain the disadvantages or the cons of this type of business organization. First off, the major disadvantages of a corporation is the double taxation. This is where a company is taxed on its profits, which the company handles. Then what's left over of those profits after being taxed the first time is reinvested in as retained earnings or distributed as dividends to its shareholders. That is then taxed again based on the shareholders' income tax, thus the double taxation. Another disadvantages Another disadvantage of a corporation is the liability of tort and criminal law done by its officers or any agents throughout the company. That's pretty straightforward and fairly minor disadvantage. Now that's only two cons listed for corporation. On the other side, the pros, as a corporation, one must invest to become a shareholder. Once you invest and become a shareholder, you become part owner. That I look at as a benefit, because as a part owner, you get to elect the board of directors, who then are responsible for the management done throughout the company. That thus leaving you with limited responsibility as a shareholder. Another benefit is the easy transfer of ownership, thus done by the selling of shares. When you buy or sell shares, you're investing or getting rid of ownership into a company, or when you invest in a company, you're raising capital towards the company. So in this case, selling shares is definitely a benefit for the transfer of ownership, as well as the ease on raising capital for the corporation. The most important pro for a corporation would most likely be the limited liability to its owners, thus easing the stress on potential debt throughout the corporation through a drop in the economy or the market. Now, that is a pro because as a shareholder, your liability is limited to just what you invest in. Now, that investment is still growing, gaining, done by capital and earnings through the corporation. Now, that's 5 pros outweighing 2 cons. Simply, that is fairly easy to understand why pharmaceutical companies, a big business, any big pharmaceutical company is obviously going to want limited liability for its shareholders based on their products and what is happening throughout that industry. Another few minor aspects of why a corporation is a better form of business organization for this industry rather than other forms such as proprietorships or partnerships, LLCs and LLPs, is because mainly in part the liability, and those other forms of business, the liability is often split or taken fully responsible of its owners. And in a corporation, we want our shareholders' liability to be totally limited and not responsible for company debt. Another reason organizations benefit over these types is the basic transfer of ownership and the limited authority. Now those are small, simple, easy, understandable reasons why a corporation is a better fit over those other forms of business organizations, especially the 5 cons outweighing the 5 pros, outweighing the 2 cons. Now, if I can recap, these 5 pros were becoming part owner, getting to elect the board being responsible for management, leaving you limited responsibility, the easy transfer of ownership by selling shares, which is also the ease of raising capital for the corporation itself, and of course the limited liability. It's 5 pros outweighing the 2 cons, which if which I recall as double taxation and the corporation's liability for tort and criminal law. Simple and straightforward. These 5 easily outweigh this too. Now, through these explanation simply proves why a corporation is the best fit business organization for a industry such as pharmaceuticals. My name is Cole Titterington. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this knowledgeable, informational video. Next week we'll be talking about the other forms of business organizations for different industries such as food trucks. Thank you. Logging off until next week.